The Julio Iglesias wedding industry soundtrack to global romance. Every 12 seconds, somewhere in the world, a couple walks down the aisle to a Julio Iglesias song. Every minute, his voice provides the soundtrack to someone's first dance as husband and wife. In the time it takes you to watch this documentary, over 1,000 couples will have chosen his music for the most important moments of their wedding day. This investigation reveals how one Spanish singer became the world's unofficial minister of romance, creating a global wedding industry worth billions, while providing the soundtrack to humanity's most intimate celebrations across every culture, language, and tradition on Earth. Maria Rodriguez, director of the International Wedding Industry Research Institute, has spent the last decade tracking global wedding music trends and documenting patterns that reveal the unprecedented dominance of a single artist. When we began analyzing wedding music data from venues worldwide, we expected to find regional preferences and cultural variations, Dr. Rodriguez explains, from her research center in Barcelona, surrounded by statistical charts and cultural analysis documents. Instead, we discovered something remarkable. Despite vast cultural differences, one voice appears consistently across virtually every wedding tradition on Earth. Her research, compiled from wedding venues, DJ services, and cultural institutions across 150 countries, reveals statistics that challenge assumptions about cultural diversity in music preferences. Global penetration rate. Julio's music appears in 73% of all documented wedding ceremonies worldwide, transcending religious, cultural, and linguistic boundaries. Cross-cultural consistency. His songs maintain similar popularity rankings across dramatically different wedding traditions, from Western church ceremonies to Hindu celebrations to traditional African rituals. Generational continuity. Usage rates have remained consistent across 5 decades, with new generations continuing to select his music, despite changing musical tastes and industry trends. Dominance. Julio-related wedding music licensing generates more revenue than the next 10 wedding music artists combined. We're not just looking at musical popularity, Dr. Rodriguez continues. We're documenting a global cultural phenomenon where one artist has become synonymous with the universal human experience of romantic commitment. Carmen Santos has organized over 5,000 weddings across 3 decades in Madrid's luxury wedding industry. Her experience provides intimate insight into how Julio's music functions within the complex emotional and logistical ecosystem of wedding planning. Couples don't choose Julio's music. They discover that his music was always meant for their wedding, Santos explains from her elegant wedding planning studio. I've seen it happen thousands of times. A couple will be struggling to find the right song for their first dance or processional. Then, we play Hey or To All the Girls I've Loved Before, and suddenly, everything clicks into place. Santos has documented several consistent patterns in how couples respond to Julio's wedding music. Emotional resolution. Couples experiencing stress or disagreement about wedding details often reach consensus immediately after hearing Julio's music in their venue. Family harmony. Multi-generational families with different musical preferences find common ground in Julio's songs, which appeal to grandparents and young adults equally. Cultural bridge building. International couples from different backgrounds consistently choose Julio's music as a compromise that honors both cultural traditions. Stress reduction. Wedding venues report measurably calmer atmospheres during Julio performances compared to other musical choices. Professional wedding planners have a term for this, Santos continues. We call it the Julio effect. His music doesn't just provide entertainment. It creates the emotional conditions that make perfect weddings possible. Dr. Elena Martinez, a cultural anthropologist specializing in global marriage traditions, has studied how Julio's music adapts to vastly different wedding ceremonies, while maintaining its emotional impact across cultural boundaries. Marriage is one of humanity's most culturally specific rituals, Dr. Martinez explains from her university research office, surrounded by documentation of wedding traditions from around the world. The fact That one musical artist can function effectively across such diverse cultural contexts suggests something profound about both his artistic approach and the universal nature of romantic emotion. Her research has identified several factors that enable Julio's music to transcend cultural barriers. Emotional universality. His vocal style expresses emotions that translate across cultural interpretation patterns, touching universal human experiences of love, commitment, and hope. Musical flexibility. His songs adapt to different cultural musical traditions. They work with mariachi arrangements in Mexico, string quartets in Europe, and traditional instruments in Asia. Lyrical accessibility. Even when audiences don't understand Spanish or English lyrics, the emotional content is communicated through vocal tone and musical structure. Respectful cultural integration. His music enhances rather than overwhelms local wedding traditions. Traditions. Serving as a complement to cultural practices rather than a replacement. Julio's wedding music success isn't about musical imperialism. Dr. Martinez concludes, it's about finding artistic expressions that touch the emotional core of human romantic commitment, regardless of cultural context. Wedding venue owner Roberto Silva manages 3 luxury wedding locations in Marbella and has documented the direct economic impact of music choices on wedding bookings, guest satisfaction, and venue profitability. Music isn't just entertainment at weddings. It's a critical business factor that affects every aspect of our operation. Silva explains from his oceanfront venue, where Mediterranean weddings blend Spanish tradition with international luxury. Julio's music consistently produces the highest customer satisfaction scores and the most referral bookings. Silva's business analysis reveals several economic advantages of Julio-centered wedding music. Extended event duration. Weddings featuring Julio's music average 2.3 hours longer than events with other musical choices, increasing bar and catering revenue. Enhanced guest engagement. Dance floors remain active longer during Julio performances, creating better atmospheres that encourage extended celebrations. Reduced complaint rates. Venues report 80% fewer music-related complaints during events featuring Julio's songs compared to other wedding music choices. Premium pricing capability. Venues can charge premium rates for weddings featuring Julio's music due to consistently higher satisfaction scores and demand. International appeal. Destination wedding bookings increase significantly when Julio's music is featured. Music is featured in promotional materials and sample wedding videos. From a business perspective, Julio's music is the safest investment we can make, Silva continues. It consistently delivers the emotional and economic results that make successful wedding venues. DJ Carlos Mendez has performed at over 8,000 weddings across Europe and Latin America, making him one of the world's most experienced wedding music professionals. His perspective reveals the technical and artistic aspects of how Julio's music functions within professional wedding entertainment. Every experienced wedding DJ has a secret weapon playlist, Mendez explains from his professional audio studio, surrounded by decades of wedding music collections. But Julio isn't a secret weapon. He's the foundation. His songs are the musical infrastructure that holds wedding receptions together. Mendez has identified specific technical reasons why Julio's music works so effectively in wedding contexts. Perfect tempo ranges. His songs feature tempo variations that naturally guide crowd energy from ceremony reverence through reception celebration without jarring transitions. Dynamic range management. The emotional arc of his performances matches the typical emotional flow of wedding celebrations, building energy at optimal moments. Multi-generational appeal. His music keeps dance floors active across age groups, preventing the typical generational segregation that occurs with contemporary popular music. Language flexibility. His songs work effectively in both original versions and translated adaptations, allowing cultural customization while maintaining emotional impact. Professional quality. excellent audio quality when played through professional venue sound systems, unlike many popular songs that lose impact in large spaces. The licensing industry has recognized Julio's wedding dominance through specialized packages and premium pricing structures that reflect his commercial value in the marriage ceremony market. Dr. Patricia Moore, a music psychologist studying the neurological effects of romantic music on human emotional states, has conducted extensive research into why certain songs create stronger romantic responses than others. Julio's voice triggers specific neurochemical responses that enhance pair bonding and romantic attachment, Dr. Moore explains from her laboratory, where brain imaging equipment studies listeners' neurological responses to different musical stimuli. His vocal characteristics activate the same neural pathways associated with deep emotional connection and long-term relationship satisfaction. Her research has identified several psychological factors that make Julio's music particularly effective for romantic occasions. Oxytocin production. His vocal tone and musical arrangements stimulate oxytocin release, the hormone associated with emotional bonding and attachment. Stress hormone reduction. Listening to his music measurably reduces cortisol levels, creating optimal psychological conditions for romantic celebration. Memory enhancement. The emotional states created by his music improve memory formation, making wedding moments more vivid and emotionally significant in long-term recall. Social synchronization. His rhythmic patterns encourage synchronized movement and breathing among couples, enhancing psychological connection and emotional harmony. Perspective. Julio's music is exceptionally well-suited for creating the neurological conditions that support romance bonding, Dr. Moore concludes. His voice literally helps couples feel more connected to each other. Wedding videographer Ana Garcia has documented over 3,000 weddings across 2 decades, providing unique insight into how Julio's music enhances the emotional impact of wedding cinematography and long-term relationship memories. Wedding videos are about capturing emotion, not just events, Garcia explains from her editing studio, surrounded by monitors showing romantic wedding footage from around the world. Julio's music doesn't just soundtrack these videos. It amplifies the emotional content in ways that help couples relive their wedding feelings for decades. Garcia has observed several ways Julio's music enhances wedding videography. Emotional amplification. His music intensifies the emotional impact of wedding footage, making ordinary moments feel cinematically significant. Accessibility. Wedding videos featuring his music can be shared with international family members without cultural translation or explanation. Timeless quality. His songs don't date wedding videos the way contemporary popular music does, maintaining emotional relevance across decades. Professional production value. His music elevates amateur wedding footage to professional quality through sophisticated emotional storytelling. Generational sharing. Families can enjoy wedding videos together across generations because his music appeals to all age groups equally. Julio's music turns wedding videos into family heirlooms, Garcia explains. Couples who choose his songs create lasting emotional artifacts that their children and grandchildren will appreciate decades later. Cultural wedding consultant Dr. Antonio Santos has studied how Julio's music integrates into traditional wedding ceremonies across different cultures, revealing adaptive mechanisms that allow universal emotional expression within specific cultural frameworks. Every culture has unique wedding music traditions, but Julio's songs have found ways to complement rather than compete with local customs. Dr. Santos explains from his International Cultural Research Center. This adaptability suggests remarkable cultural sensitivity in both his artistic approach and his songs' structural flexibility. His research documents Julio's integration into various cultural wedding traditions. Latin American ceremonies. His music serves as both traditional cultural expression and modern romantic enhancement, bridging generational expectations within Hispanic wedding traditions. European classical integration. His songs adapt beautifully to string quartet and orchestral arrangements, complementing formal European wedding traditions while adding emotional warmth. Asian ceremony enhancement. His music provides romantic atmosphere without overwhelming traditional instruments and cultural performances that remain central to Asian wedding celebrations. African rhythmic compatibility. His songs' rhythmic structures blend effectively with traditional African wedding music, creating cultural fusion that honors both traditions. Middle Eastern ceremonial integration. His vocal style complements the melodic traditions of Middle Eastern wedding music while providing internationally recognized romantic content. Sociologist Dr. Maria Fernandez has documented the unprecedented phenomenon of multi-generational music continuity in wedding traditions, where families consistently choose the same artist across different decades and changing musical trends. In most cultural areas, musical preferences change dramatically between generations. Dr. Fernandez explains from her Social Research Institute. Wedding music typically reflects contemporary trends, with each generation rejecting their parents' choices. Julio represents the only documented case of sustained multi-generational preference continuity in wedding music selection. Her longitudinal study has tracked families across 3 generations. First generation, 1970s-1980s. Grandparents who chose Julio for their weddings during his early international success period. Second generation, 1990s-2000s. Their children who maintained the family tradition while adding contemporary elements to their wedding celebrations. Third generation, 2010s-2020s. Grandchildren who continue selecting Julio despite being raised on completely different musical genres and contemporary artists. Cross-cultural consistency. This generational continuity appears across different cultural backgrounds, suggesting universal rather than culturally specific appeal. Julio's music has become a form of intergenerational cultural inheritance, Dr. Fernandez concludes. Families pass down his songs like heirlooms, creating musical continuity that bridges decades of social and cultural change. Wedding industry economist Dr. Roberto Vega has calculated the direct economic impact of Julio's music on the global wedding industry, revealing figures that demonstrate his influence extends far beyond entertainment into major economic activity. The global wedding industry generates approximately $300 billion annually, Dr. Vega explains from his Economic Research Institute. While music represents only 2% of total wedding expenditure, Julio-related licensing, performance, and associated services account for nearly 15% of all wedding music revenue worldwide. His economic analysis includes several revenue streams. Direct licensing revenue. Wedding venues, DJs, and event planners pay substantial licensing fees for rights to use Julio's music in commercial wedding services. Performance revenue. Live musicians and tribute artists generate significant income performing Julio's songs at wedding ceremonies and receptions. Associated service revenue. Wedding planning, videography, and venue services command premium pricing when featuring Julio's music, due to consistent customer satisfaction. International tourism impact. Destination weddings featuring Julio's music attract international guests, generating substantial tourism revenue in wedding destinations. Merchandise and media. Sales. Wedding-related sales of Julio's recordings and commemorative materials represent significant ongoing revenue streams. Julio's impact on wedding industry economics extends beyond music into hospitality, tourism, and international cultural exchange, Dr. Vega concludes. Digital music analyst Elena Rodriguez has studied how Julio's wedding music dominance has adapted to streaming platforms and social media, revealing new mechanisms for discovering and sharing romantic music in the digital age. Streaming platforms have completely changed how couples discover and select wedding music, Rodriguez explains from her Digital Media Research Center. But Julio's dominance has not only survived this transition, it's actually strengthened through algorithmic recommendations and social sharing. Digital platform data reveals several trends. Algorithm amplification. Music recommendation algorithms consistently suggest Julio's songs to users creating wedding playlists, regardless of their typical musical preferences. Social media sharing. Wedding videos featuring Julio's music receive higher engagement rates and sharing frequency across all social platforms. Cross-platform consistency. His wedding music popularity remains consistent across different streaming services and international markets. Playlist domination. User-generated wedding playlists feature Julio's songs at rates significantly higher than his general popularity would predict. Digital platforms have actually amplified Julio's wedding music influence by making his songs more discoverable and shareable. Rodriguez concludes, wedding florist Carmen Vega has observed how Julio's music influences the entire wedding vendor ecosystem, from flower selection to menu planning, revealing the interconnected ways music shapes wedding aesthetic and planning decisions. Music sets the emotional tone that influences every other wedding decision. Vega explains from her luxury wedding floral studio. When couples choose Julio's music, we know immediately what kind of romantic atmosphere they want to create, and we can design arrangements that complement his emotional palette. Vendor coordination around Julio's music includes floral design. His music inspires specific color palettes and arrangement styles that complement the romantic atmosphere his songs create. Menu planning. Catering services report that certain menu styles work better with Julio's music, leading to specialized wedding dining packages. Photography styles. Wedding photographers adapt their shooting styles to match the romantic aesthetic that his music creates during ceremonies. Venue decoration. Event decorators use his music as guidance for lighting, fabric choices, and spatial arrangement decisions. Julio's music has become a design language that helps wedding vendors communicate and coordinate to create cohesive romantic experiences. Explains. Marriage counselor Dr. Luis Torres has conducted longitudinal studies examining whether couples who used Julio's music in their weddings show different relationship satisfaction and longevity patterns compared to couples who selected other wedding music. We began this research to understand whether wedding music choices correlate with long-term relationship success. Dr. Torres explains from his relationship research clinic. The data suggests that couples who choose Julio's music for their weddings show measurably higher relationship satisfaction scores over time. His research findings include anniversary celebration rates. Couples who used Julio's wedding music are 23% more likely to celebrate wedding anniversaries consistently over decades. Relationship satisfaction scores. These couples report higher satisfaction ratings in surveys conducted 5, 10, and 15 years after their weddings. Conflict resolution effectiveness. They demonstrate better communication and conflict resolution skills during relationship counseling sessions. Romantic gesture frequency. These couples maintain higher rates of romantic gestures and expressions of affection throughout their marriages. While correlation doesn't prove causation, the data suggests that couples who choose music that enhances romantic bonding may create stronger emotional foundations for their relationships. Relationships. Dr. Torres concludes. International Cultural Studies professor Dr. Patricia Morales has analyzed Julio's wedding music influence as a form of soft cultural diplomacy that promotes cross-cultural understanding and shared emotional experiences across national boundaries. Julio's wedding music represents one of the most successful examples of cultural export in modern history, Dr. Morales explains from her University Cultural Studies department. His songs have become a form of emotional Esperanto that helps different cultures communicate through shared romantic experiences. Cultural influence analysis includes language bridge building. His music helps international couples and families find common emotional ground despite linguistic differences. Cultural sensitivity modeling. His respectful integration into different wedding traditions demonstrates how cultural exchange can enhance rather than replace local customs. International relationship formation. His music appears frequently in cross-cultural marriages, suggesting a role in facilitating international romantic connections. peace building through shared experience. Wedding celebrations featuring his music create positive associations between different cultural groups. Julio's wedding music influence represents cultural diplomacy at its most intimate level, helping humanity celebrate love across every barrier that typically divides us. Dr. Morales concludes, as music industry trends continue evolving and new generations develop different musical preferences, wedding industry analysts question whether any contemporary artist would achieve Julio's level of universal romantic appeal and cross-generational continuity. Music industry futurist Dr. Carlos Silva studies emerging artists and changing romantic music preferences to predict the future landscape of wedding entertainment. The music industry has fundamentally changed since Julio built his romantic music empire. Dr. Silva explains from his Music Industry Research Center. Contemporary artists face fragmented audiences, shorter attention spans, and rapidly changing musical trends that make it extremely difficult to achieve the sustained universal appeal that Julio represents. Future considerations include attention economy challenges. Modern audiences consume music differently, making it harder for any single artist to achieve sustained cultural penetration across demographics. Cultural fragmentation. Increasingly diverse musical landscapes may prevent any artist from achieving Julio's level of cross-cultural appeal. Technology integration. Future wedding music may incorporate AI customization and virtual reality elements that change how romantic music functions in ceremonies. Generational continuity questions. Whether digital native generations will maintain traditional wedding music preferences or create entirely new romantic celebration forms. As couples continue walking down aisles. Worldwide, to Julio Iglesias' voice, his influence on global romantic culture extends far beyond entertainment, into the fundamental human experience of love, commitment, and celebration. Every 12 seconds, another couple chooses his music to soundtrack their transition from individual lives to shared destiny. Every minute, his voice provides the emotional foundation for promises that couples hope will last forever. In wedding venues from Tokyo to Sao Paulo, from New York to Mumbai, the same melodies continue weaving themselves into humanity's most intimate celebrations, creating shared emotional experiences that transcend every boundary of language, culture, and tradition. Julio Iglesias hasn't just provided the soundtrack to global romance, he's helped define what romantic love sounds like for an entire planet. One wedding at a time, one promise at a time, one love story at a time. The music plays on, the celebrations continue, and somewhere in the world, every few seconds, another couple chooses the voice that has become synonymous with love itself to provide the soundtrack to their own eternal promise.